and look at Ecclesiastes lesson number 7, Rich but All Alone. I want to stop and just make an observation. Rich but entirely unhappy. That would be Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite. He was born in 1833, and by the time 1888 came, he was a multi-millionaire because so many people wanted to buy that explosive power. They had a hill that they wanted to take down. They had a building that they wanted to destroy. The coal mines were using his explosives, and his company was developing new and better explosives. And money was coming in, and he didn't have the power to use it all. And that's why when he saw the destructive power of the thing that he had invented, he was so unhappy. In fact, the Bible that talks about his work, literally was called the Bible. It simply said that he sat down and cried almost every day that he had invented such a destructive thing that man had continued to develop until the atomic bomb and all of the other methods of destruction. And so he created what we call the Nobel Prizes. And hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars have been given to people who are worthy of the Nobel Prize. Rich, but most unhappy. Solomon here in chapters 5 through 6 is talking about 3 men who are rich, but they're all alone. Brother Vaughn says in the introduction, while driving through the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee several years ago, I instinctively turned to the passenger in my car and remarked about the breathtaking beauty all around us. But I had no passenger. I was all alone. I was talking to myself. It made me stop and think. The mountains were still there, and they were just as beautiful, but somehow, since I couldn't share that beauty with someone else, the moment wasn't complete. My joy certainly was not full. And at that moment, I knew that I didn't want to be alone. And it wasn't just about the obvious benefits of companionship. It struck me that life was meant to be shared, and that we will never know completely joy if we cannot share our blessings with others. Love needs an object other than self. And so in chapters 5, 6 of Ecclesiastes, Solomon makes the same observations. He talks about 3 different people in these verses. All 3 were rich under the sun possessions, and all 3 failed to find meaning, purpose, and lasting joy in their life. The first man was rich, but he kept it to himself. I had a brother-in-law that was quite a collector of silver coins, silver dollars. Long before the silver dollar became worth more than $1 because of the price of silver, he had collected, I don't know how many, maybe 100 or so, maybe even 1,000 silver dollars. When my brother-in-law passed, he left them all behind. Somebody asked, how much did he leave? And I said, he left it all. Didn't carry it with him. Here was a man in Solomon's day that he described, chapter 5, verses 13 through 17. He describes a person who has kept wealth, but is a miser. He doesn't share his good fortune with others, and one day, due to misfortune or bad business, he loses all of his wealth. Riches was on the mind of Solomon. He's the richest king that the world really has ever known. He was one of the greatest, if not the greatest king. Now he has nothing to share with his children or with others. While it was in his hand, he chose not to share it. He kept it all to himself. What good did it do him? We may not have great wealth, but we have blessings that we can share with others, our time. You know, there's a number of nursing homes in this city. And when I walk through, I could spend an entire day, maybe on just one hall, going in, and they just simply want to hold your hand, and they'll hold it so tight, don't leave, talk with me more. And then I ask the question, and I shouldn't. When was your son here? Oh, he hasn't been here in 3 months. He hadn't been here in a long time. Had a lady to come by the office the other day, and she said, Brother Sides, I need somebody to talk to. I said, well, I may not be the right person, but we'll talk. And after about 30 minutes, she made the statement, she said, Brother Sides, I just feel so much better because you have helped me so much. And I began to think, what have I said? Yeah, is that right? All she needed was somebody that would listen, and I was just the guinea pig, I guess. But she left that office telling me that she felt so much better. The world needs people who will listen. And you've got 2 ears, and you're not hard of hearing like I am. And you can listen to people, and they will appreciate it. Whether your portion is great or small, wealth is relative, since to someone in the world, you're probably considered very, very rich. He talks about another fellow who is rich, but he never gets to enjoy his blessings. Why? Because he's so eager to gain others, and he can't sit down and sit in his easy chair and watch TV. He can't sit down and enjoy what he's accumulated. Some years ago, I preached in a meeting down at Enterprise, Alabama. Enterprise, Alabama has right in the center of the town the only monument in the world to an insect, to the boll weevil. The boll weevil, when graduation comes, there are 3 or 4 strong young men graduating from high school that will go and lift that little bug off its pedestal and carry it and hide it, and the police are in on it as well. They watch them, and then they go and get it and bring it back. That's the tradition of the high school there. But also in Enterprise, there is a peanut butter factory. They bring the peanuts in raw, they roast them, they go through the process of making it into peanut butter, and then all of these big trucks, bound or whatever name, you can see trucks backed up getting that. And they'll go take it to their factory and put it in their jar and sell it to you, and you buy it, and you say, oh, this peanut butter's better than Bama. It's made by the same company. But every night after the meeting, when I opened the door to shake hands with people, that smell of peanut butter just came flowing in. And I said, brethren, can I go and get a big old gallon of that stuff? He said, no, nobody can buy it. It sells only to the retailers. Well, in that meeting, I was introduced to Brother Bob Williams. Brother Bob Williams had moved from Fort Knox, Kentucky, down to Enterprise, Alabama. I asked Brother Bob, I said, what do you do in Fort Knox? He said, I counted golden bars. That's all I did for 38 years. I would go in one room, and my partner and I would lift the bar of gold up and place it over there, and we'd make sure that we had the right number. And I did that for 38 years. And that sermon that you preached tonight, the golden things of Christianity, didn't mean very much to me. I don't like gold. But there's very few Bob Williams in the world. He said that Fort Knox will never be invaded. It will never be a man enter in and rob it. Fort Knox, he said, is the most secure place in the United States of America. He said in times of war, those things that we really appreciate, there's only one copy of it probably, like the Constitution, the original copy of the Declaration of Independence. They'll bring them from Washington, D.C. to Fort Knox for safekeeping. I said, did you ever have the opportunity to guard some of those great special American heritage pieces? Yes, during the Vietnam War. They brought them here. But he says, I just cannot stand gold. But how untrue that is to everybody else. Here was a man in chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. He's a miser. It's interesting to note that not only does Solomon describe this problem, being a miser, as an evil, he also describes it as common among men. This man had given up much from God, riches, wealth, and honor. He had been given much from God, riches, wealth, and honor. And make no mistake, all that we have comes from God. The rich man may have thought that he is a self-made person, but it is God in heaven who's given him life, given him health, allowed him to accumulate riches. God also gives us the power to eat and enjoy our wealth. This man was so busy accumulating that he never got to enjoy the fruit of his labor. And that's where Brother Ricky and myself, our lessons come together. The power to eat or enjoy our blessings is a gift from God. And then Solomon said that one who is not satisfied with what he has no friends when he dies. In verses 3 through 6, we have the description of a man who has been richly blessed, given some of the great possible blessings like children, life, and health. But he wants something else. I know a dad who is weeping tears even this day because he accumulated. He owns a farm of 500 acres. And I can take you there in just a matter of an hour. And he can show me all those beautiful cows, all those beautiful things on that farm. But in the process of gaining that, he lost his family. He has no relationship with his son. His daughter doesn't even come on Christmas. 3 very wealthy men. 3 men consumed by their work or their riches. 3 men who neither had no time for others or did not see the value in sharing time with others. 3 unhappy, wasted lives. 3 men, very much like many of us. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher. All is vanity. On page 26, let's make an application. Think of the happiest, most contented person you have ever known. What was the source of their happiness, his or her? Were they very wealthy? Did they have a very important, prestigious job? Were they highly educated with several college degrees? Were they in a position of power and authority over others? Or was the source of their happiness something else? What about you? Are you seeking happiness and contentment in your life? Where are you seeking it? Riches, but all alone. I just cannot see any sadder picture than a person who has accumulated, but he has no friends. He hasn't taken time to develop friendship. A number of years ago, the following ad was placed in a Midwestern newspaper. I will listen to you talk for 30 minutes without comment for $5. Sounds like a scam, doesn't it? But it's not. The person placing the ad received 10 to 20 calls a day. My son, when he worked for Alabama Power, worked in an office in Montgomery, and he called it the gripe department, the complaints. If a power pole was broken in an accident or whatever, they didn't have power, it came to him, and my son Lee had to get the persons out there to fix upright a new pole. But over the years, my son developed a friendship with a little old lady just north of Mobile, Alabama. She was in her 90s. She couldn't sleep well at night. She didn't have anybody at the house. But she had gotten Lee's telephone number at the Alabama Power office, and she called him every night about it at 12:30. And some of the things that Lee shared with me is very comical. But she found in Lee a sweet, friendly voice that would listen. Oh, she didn't have any problem with her electricity. She had lights, but she just couldn't sleep. And she needed somebody to talk to. Are you lonely? Loneliness of spirit, sometimes loneliness geographically. I'm thinking about those Americans that are over yonder listening to those bullets, maybe not bullets, but bombs falling around them, and wish that they could just get out of Gaza. A few years ago, I was on a trip to the Holy Lands, and the southern part of, we called it Gaza then, Acts chapter 8. We went down that road, and we came to a place where the guide says this is where Philip baptized the eunuch. We got out. It was amazing, a beautiful spring. The pool was deep enough to baptize hundreds, much less one man. who said, "Here is water. What doth hinder me to be baptized?" Went on his way rejoicing. Yes, loneliness of spirit. Husband and wife under the same roof, but distance. Unwed mother whose former lover has deserted her. An elderly person who waits for a call, waits for a letter, a birthday card, a visit, but it never comes. There are times when we all feel lonely. Sometimes we can be lonely in a big crowd. Why is there loneliness in this world? Because God has made us for companionship. Genesis 2, verse 18, not good for man to be alone. Sometimes loneliness is a choice. You turn your back on folks who really care, like your family, your friends. You can walk away from a church family. Maybe you quietly slip out of the back door. Maybe you've confused yourself with Martin Luther, who nailed 95 theses to the door and then left. The result is the same. You choose against love, you squander relationships. Loneliness is a decision that you've made for yourself. Solomon, somebody said, how could he be so lonely? Talk about loneliness when he's got 1,000 wives. They were not real, it seems. And so he talked about 3 men who were rich like him, but all alone. I love people. I want a telephone call from Vance Hutton, and it usually comes almost every day, morning. He said, "You just got off the broadcast?" I said, "Yeah." "How you doing?" I look forward to that. How many of us could do the same with so many? God has given us blessings, and we have not taken advantage as much as we should. I know Ecclesiastes is going to be in your Bible after this semester is over, and it's going to have somebody to teach the book better. But tonight, Solomon tells us about 3 men who the world would say, boy, they've been successful. They're rich, they're rich, they're rich. But they are all alone.